Hello and welcome to the Punter, the best advice on sports betting you'll find anywhere, looking at this weekend's action and taking you through all of the action that matters, finding the value for you. Now it's the culmination even of the Premier League season with the title race, which wasn't a title race and then it was briefly and now it's not again, in my opinion. It's not my opinion that counts, it's the opinion of our experts. Neil Channing is here and Dan Freeman's here. Good to see you both. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, thank you very much. You remember what happened last time you said there wasn't a title race?
There wasn't a race, there was one.
Yes.
Yeah, but there isn't now, in my opinion.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. This is kind of a new lineup because it's like doing a lot of transfer spending in the summer. I know you're both great individually, but I don't know how you're going to gel.
I think we're going to work as a team. We're going to put a lot of effort into it, and if it all goes wrong, we're going to blame the manager.
They don't say that normally.
No, they normally put a lot of how have you been, Neil? I haven't seen you here for a couple of weeks.
That's where I've been. That's why I haven't been here, actually,
You've
Nick,
been
to be honest with
snooker.
you. Yes, I locked myself in my house. My beard reached, there, probably, actually. Normally, if Ronnie O'Sullivan wins the Snooker World Championships, that's it. I go and live in a cardboard box for the next 2 years. But
because just to explain, because you've been
opposing him. Yes, bet against him because the public love him. But actually, it didn't really happen this year, I think, even though it seemed obvious from a long way out that he was playing, back to his old and brilliant and everything like that. I actually did oppose him a bit towards the end, and he won, and I still won money. So I don't quite know how that worked. But anyway, it seemed to kind of all come out in the wash.
And are you betting, just because people will be interested, are you betting in running?
Yeah, loads of frame-by-frame stuff.
Right.
And I was betting on the length of the matches and the number of centuries and everything. I glued to it. There wasn't a thing that happened in that snooker that I didn't have a bet on.
Must be great for, I've never bet in running and snooker, but it must be great for it because, this sounds like a stupid point, because the action's unfolding slowly, presumably there's a little bit more time to work out.
There is. It's a bit dodgy if you're watching on Eurosport. I think it was about 7 seconds behind what was really happening in real life. Yeah, slightly awkward.
Yeah, slightly awkward. Well, it's a fantastic weekend of sport, as I'm sure you know, the headline of which is the title race, but not too often that you get such close races for the top 4 relegation battles as well and the top 2. We'll start with the title race. We'll take a look at the top of the Premier League table, shall we? I'm sure many of you will have this memorised, but it is a goal difference type scenario right now. Long time since the title was decided on goal difference, but the most likely outcome is that's exactly what will happen this time. And the bun fight for top 4 continues, while Chelsea, relaxed, can throw games knowing that they'll definitely be going into Munich and getting a win and depriving either Arsenal or Tottenham of the top 4. Dan, what are you looking forward to most this weekend?
I don't think the Premier League, in their wildest dreams, could have imagined that there'd be 3 things hanging on the last day of the season going right to the wire. It's been such a turbulent sort of year with all sorts of things going on regarding the FA, the Premier League, and so forth, teams, individuals. I'm not going to go into great detail on that, but for the title race, for the race for the Champions League and relegation places to be sorted out on the last day of the season, it'd be an absolute dream for them. And I'm particularly looking forward to seeing Manchester City toil right until the 70th, 80th minute. I really am. I think it could be really close. I think Manchester United got their win at Sunderland wrapped up, but I think it's going to go really close at City because QPR need a point.
Me and you need to have a side bet on the time of the first goal at City because we differ wildly on our estimates of this. Here are the title race odds. City, obviously more or less unbackable, Neil. The interesting thing for me is kind of to look at it retrospectively because we've been doing the punter throughout this season.
We have. Every week we say, yes, City is the only bet. City are underpriced. Man United are too short. They're priced on their value. Every week Flash tells us that we're all stupid and that Man U are going to win again, and of course they keep winning.
Well, he's had his moment of glory now, hasn't he? Because
well, everyone can claim they've won, can't they? Because if you
so.
back City at the start, you had plenty of chances to lay off at 10-1 on kind of before Christmas. And then Flash had his chance to tell us, oh, Man United are not going to lose another game. He was absolutely right for ages and ages and ages, and we all ate humble pie. And he's going to come on in a minute and probably tell us he hedged and bought another Rolls Royce with it or something.
To be honest, I don't think Flash really cares about this because he's had 3 of his former teams this season promoted in Southampton, Charlton and Sheffield
Absolutely,
Wednesday.
That's 3 celebrations.
He's as happy as they can be.
Or in his world, a month.
I'm sure that he'll forget now that presumably, if it does happen and Manchester United don't win the Premier League, that he has been saying Manchester United all along.
Just a quick point though. Looking at those title odds, what do we have? 8-1 on and 5-1.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no computer genius, but I produced the back of an envelope and a pencil this morning and worked out the price of QPR winning or drawing, Man United winning, and that double came to just over 8-1. So,
so
if you are going
to back Man United to win the title outright,
there might be a better way if you want to be on Man United than taking that 5-1 just by walking into the bookies and saying, you know, have you got prices on someone to win the title?
That's a really good tip for people, I think. Let's check out the top 4 finish, shall we? The other kind of top of the table intrigue is around who will finish top 4. This has fluctuated a lot as well. At one point, it looked like Tottenham were going to cruise into 3rd spot, and then, of course, their wheels came off. Now, looking at the market, it looks like there isn't that much intrigue.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because this, to be honest, like I'm an old school guy, and football's changed a lot in the last few years. Nobody's interested in the FA Cup anymore. Nobody cares about Thursday on Channel 5. It's all about the Champions League, and people are always going on about, the race for 4th, the race for 5th, and all this kind of stuff.
It is in the media.
Oh, sorry, did Liverpool win something? Yeah, I forgot about that.
No, I think it's a really interesting question, and the real kind of the test audience for this question would be Newcastle fans.
That's true.
Because Newcastle haven't won a major trophy for 40, 50 years. If you offered a Newcastle fan the League Cup or a top 4 finish, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the answer would be.
I think they'd go for a cup.
Yeah, I kind of think maybe
because
they
you
would.
think Newcastle fans, big history, they'd want to get back something like that.
So maybe this is a myth perpetrated by the media. The reason I asked the question is because now, again, I'm so poor with homework and stuff. You get money, don't you? If you finish kind of 8th, 9th, 10th in the Premier, you get
about $500,000.
Every place is $500,000.
About $500,000 for each.
How much does that matter to these clubs, really? I mean, what I'm thinking about is this last week of the season, when people have been saying, and we've been saying it on this show for 3 weeks, they're on the beach already, they don't care. $500,000 is not nothing, is it? I mean,
no,
like, if you can finish 11th instead of 13th.
You're going to have a disconnect between the ownership, who would want the extra couple of million for finishing higher, and the players. Dan, players aren't going to care whether they finish 12th or 7th.
No, certainly not. But behind the scenes, they're definitely going to worry if they're going to be finishing 5th or 4th, because you're talking about multi-million pounds.
But don't the players get bonuses related to where they finish and that kind of thing?
Maybe in the top 10, they wouldn't be.
So you think we might be overestimating the on-the-beach factor?
Maybe. All my question is asking is because I know how much this last week of the season the prices are skewed in terms of who's trying and who isn't, and I want to know. What is the motivation? Because I think you're right. It's got to be skewed one way or the other. Either people have overestimated it one way or the other way, and I think they generally think nobody really cares unless they're in one of these exciting matches where we're talking about the title or the relegation or the Champions League.
We should just cover off the other thing that will be decided, which is the relegation battle, which has been clarified a lot in the last few weeks, and now down to QPR and Bolton. So let's just have a quick look. If you wanted to bet this weekend on who will be relegated, you're 3-1 on with Bolton and odds against for QPR.
So basically, if you back QPR, you can get 9-4 here. Oh, sorry, Bolton, you can get 9-4 here. Is that right? Have I got that? No, sorry. If you back QPR, if you say so, effectively, you're saying that Bolton win and QPR get beat.
Yeah.
So it's that double, and the prices on the two things to happen are 7-4 and 8-1 on. So you just got to look at that double, which is actually slightly better to do the double than go and take the 9.
When you consider
bet the double, don't bet the.
If you look at the table, if we looked at the table again, you see that Bolton are 2 points behind QPR in the table, and QPR only need that point to make it sure because they've got a far superior goal difference. But it's just the fact that they're going to the team that need a win to guarantee winning the title last day of the season.
It's pretty exciting by all means.
Such bad luck for QPR in that respect. And also, they'll look back at the end of the season and there was a disallowed goal between these two teams, or a goal that wasn't that went over the line. Clint Hill's header at Bolton. And that could make all the difference coming into the season.
Coming back to what I was saying before about people being at the beach and that, again, because I'm terrible at remembering, Stoke totally rolled over in the last game of last season and didn't bother trying?
Stoke were beaten 1-0 at home by Wigan, who needed that victory to guarantee their survival as well.
What do we reckon to that? Just are Stoke given up now, or how much are they trying?
You wouldn't believe that a Tony Pulis team could ever think like that. But at the end of the day,
there's a decent amount of evidence.
But there is. But you look at Tony Pulis, you look at Stoke as a whole, and all the hard work that they put into playing against making it so difficult to go to the Brit during the season. That the last game of the season, last season, they lose at home to Wigan, which is a pretty ordinary result. This season, it could be a repeat. It really could be a repeat of Bolton going there and securing their survival.
Well, I'm in a hurry to get to the beach, so we need to take a break because that means we're moving forward. We're going to look at the individual match odds, which Neil's already previewed a couple of them. We're going to get into each match and find out if there's any value for you in the Premier League weekend. We'll be doing that after this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to what I'm pretty confident will be the best part 2 of the Punter we've ever done. Stay tuned. We're going to look at individual matches in the Premier League this weekend. And we're going to start with the title-deciding matches. And apparently they really are the title deciders. The other sports channel have had title deciders running for about 8 weeks. But this is the one I'm sure that will wrap it up. Man City QPR is the first match. And Dan, you and I have a colourful disagreement about this. You think it's going to be hard work for City. I don't. I think it's going to be easy.
Well, okay. My brain tells me that it won't be hard work, but my heart would like to see
some drama, a little bit of
bitten right to the bone. You know, the middle, the screen with City fans going like that, United fans celebrating, and all that sort of thing. Maybe it won't happen. I'm not going to put money on it. I'm not going to bet you again, for it. I'm not going to.
You're not going to bet me.
It's not much of a gambling disagreement, this, is it? Really?
No, if you're not going to put at least 1 month's rent on it, then.
I'm scared. I think that City could find it tough to break down QPR because QPR know that a point would keep them safe.
Yeah.
And there's one other factor here that people haven't really taken much into account is Mark Hughes going back to Manchester City, the way he was treated there. He would love nothing more than to stop them from winning the title on the last day of the season on their ground. And he's never lost as an away manager.
Isn't this one of those situations where, I would like nothing more than to date Megan Fox, but there's certain things stopping me doing that. City would like nothing more, QPR would like nothing more to get a point at City, but there's certain things stopping them doing that.
It's okay, Nick, I've packed her in. She's all yours.
Have you? Be too much for her. Let's look at the match odds.
There's also a couple of other former Manchester City players in the QPR lineup, like Sean Wright-Phillips, Nader Manova.
But they're rubbish players.
Dan,
the problem is they're not very good.
Answer me one question, though. Do they literally just go and put 11 men behind the ball and not?
If
they
can do something, the odds are pretty rewarding. You can get 6 to 1 the draw and 18 to 1 the win.
They tried to
7 to 1 on.
They tried to do that away at Chelsea a couple of weeks ago and got thumped 6-1.
Yeah,
you can guarantee it'll be completely the opposite way of thinking for QPR. This
you think they go and they try and play Man City, play football and try and score?
No. They went to try and play football.
Oh,
at
I
Chelsea
see.
and got thumped
Okay.
6-1.
Yeah.
They won't do this at Manchester City. They will stick. Proverbial 10 men behind the ball.
Of course, there is always the possibility. I mean, I remember the title decider between Blackburn and Man United when Man United went to West Ham. And it was a freakish game. They bombarded West Ham at Upton Park, some ridiculous 30 goal attempts or something, and couldn't score.
3-1 all,
and lost the title. But
yes. Sorry, I was just reliving happy memories. But in that game, that was another one. People got so carried away with the fact that this is going to be a great in-running game. If it is 11 men behind the ball, and Man City are absolutely, it's going to be like that Barcelona, the Champions League semi-final the other week. These games are brilliant for the value punter in running because people just go, QPR can't score because they're not trying to score, and Man City are throwing wave upon wave upon wave. Inevitably, they're going to score, and they stop and forget the maths. And, basically football lasts 90 minutes. There's 14% chance that QPR get a result out of this game. Man City are supposed to score, I don't know, whatever it is, 1.8 goals on average in this game. And you can break down the time of the game and say by now they should have scored whatever, and the percentage chance. It's pretty easy. It's not that hard. But people forget when it's like, oh my God, they've had 23 shots. They're bound to score in a minute.
So this is my favourite question on the punter. QPR 18 to 1 you can get. At what point do they become a profitable bet?
Probably not far from there, I would say.
no.
I mean, it looks to me like it's well in the prices that this is the title decider and Man City need to win. I know that QPR need to get something to save relegation, but I think...
So the idea that Man City must win this game slightly, just slightly, makes them a bit shorter than they probably should.
Yeah, and they're a more sexy team. Everybody thinks QPR are rubbish, which they are.
They've taken 55 points at home, City, already this season. They've only dropped 2 points at home this season. They've drawn one game.
So City have won more points at home than all but 5 teams in the league.
Something stupid like
6
that.
teams in the league.
QPR have only taken 11 points away from home. So
11.
If you take that into account, City all the way.
Of course, but then, you know, how many times have they played the title decider against a team that's desperate to survive, that's going to put 11 men behind the ball?
Certainly will be fun to watch and fun to bet on in running. Let's check out the other match that influences the title. Man United go to Sunderland for their annual Sunderland rollover party. I know that was when Martin O'Neill was not in charge, maybe, when Steve Bruce was there. Let's have a look at the odds for that one, shall we? And Sunderland 6-1, 13-2 you can get with Blue Square, and Man United odds on.
Sunderland 7 without a win. United, it's 2 defeats in 17. Although, to be honest, over the past 4 or 5 weeks or so, they haven't been performing at all near their best. The defeat at Wigan, the draw against Everton, the defeat at City, they were below par, to say the least. So I don't think it's quite as straightforward as people will make out, and maybe historically it's always perceived as a United win this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine the Martin O'Neill factor. He'll certainly make it harder for them than they think, but this is it. This is the crunch for United now. They'll need to win, and I'm sure that they will.
There is the intriguing thing of that they may be facing a point during the game when they know the title's gone, which could be interesting.
Yeah, somebody made that argument to me yesterday and said, well, you know, maybe Sunderland are a big price because, you know, Man City could score 2 goals in the first 10 minutes and the Man U players may be so demoralised and not, you know, just get hacked off and
just leave.
Just go. Just take the ball and go. I don't really buy that much. I want to ask about this motivation thing. Fascinates me. I mean, you know, we were talking the other week. Sunderland were a prime example of a team that people were saying they're on the beach, they've given up. You know, they were never at any stage, I think, were they in the European hunt, and never at any stage were they in the relegation battle.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, they could have been on the beach since Christmas.
Yeah.
Isn't it just that they don't really score? Isn't that their main problem, rather than they're not really trying?
Well, it's always very, very hard to, which is what you're saying, to untangle the true merits of somebody from like their motivation or their desire.
Yeah.
Certainly with Sunderland, when Martin O'Neill came in, they were looking at a relegation battle. But after the run that they went on, because it was still quite early in the season, it was only halfway through, by the time Martin O'Neill had worked his magic and they'd won something like 5 out of 6 under him, they were looking possibly towards 7th, 8th place and maybe pushing for a Europa League placing. But simply since then, you know, I think they're the primest of any example in the Premier League of a team on the beach.
Yeah,
okay.
for sure.
All right. Let's rattle through the top 4 matches, shall we? The matches that affect the top 4. We'll start with West Brom Arsenal, and Arsenal with, well, potentially a tricky away tie. They probably need. Well, they'll be after 3rd, won't they? That's the thing, because there's a big difference between 3rd and 4th. There could be a massive difference between 3rd and 4th.
Form really is against these teams pushing for the 3rd and 4th place in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And
none of them are playing that well.
None of them are playing that well at the moment.
West Brom 4-1 you can have if you fancy West Brom. Arsenal 6-4 on.
1 defeat in 6, so that tells its own story for West Brom. But also the fact that it's Roy Hodgson's last game in charge. Yeah. They are without Chris Brunt, who's a big loss for them. Peter Odemwingie and Shane Long are also injury doubts as well, which could be big losses.
Well, if those two weren't playing, that would be different.
You could probably wipe them out of winning the game, but I wouldn't put it past West Brom holding Arsenal in this one.
Any kind of price on here that interests you?
West Brom were. I remember I did a lot of money in a game earlier in the year when West Brom played Wolves. I think West Brom away from home.
They won
everybody,
5-0.
Yeah, everybody went crazy and running because West Brom were all over them in the first 10 minutes, and people just went mental for West Brom, and I got carried off really. They were a real relegation-threatened team earlier in the year. Very early in the season, people. But they've kind of fizzled out a bit in the last couple of weeks, haven't they? What's up with West Brom?
I wouldn't say that. I honestly wouldn't say that they've ever really been threatened with relegation throughout the season, West Brom. I think that they've always been there or thereabouts in mid-table, having stayed away from getting dragged into anything, but never really anything higher.
They were one of the relegation favourites, weren't they? The closed season, I think.
They probably were in the closed season.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't think they were, because they finished 10th in the end under Roy Hodgson.
Okay.
They were the highest placed Midlands team last year.
All right, we have to move on. Tottenham play Fulham in what looks like a home banker. Tottenham fans will certainly be hoping so. That's what influences their 12-1 on odds to finish top 4. I think if you want to bet individually on this game, you can have 7.5 to 1 about Fulham, 11-4 on Tottenham, 5-2 on with Sporting Bet. Neil, anything jumping out?
No, not very interested. Fulham don't really turn up always away from home. I remember Russ telling me that when Fulham and Spurs played earlier in the season, Fulham played really well and still got thrashed. Well, I say thrashed. I think it was it 2-1? Might have been 3-1. But he told me he thought Fulham played really well that day. But they don't tend to perform away from home, and they might be another on the beach club.
Well, statistically not. They've won 5 out of their last 7, just 1 defeat in that run, and they've taken the most points out of anyone in London derbies this season.
Amazing.
So I don't think this is an easy game for Spurs. I expect them to win.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's cut and dry. I don't think it's as easy as it seems. Fulham at home.
Yeah. Okay. Everton play Newcastle in the last match that affects things at the top of the table. Newcastle away from home. What an amazing run they've been on, but maybe just a little bridge too far at the end to finish top 4. We think they have a lot more to play for than Everton in this match, though. Although Everton will be trying to finish ahead of Liverpool, I guess. Newcastle 2-1. If you like, that looks like a pretty fairly priced match to me, Neil.
It looks like an easy one to price up, doesn't it? I think this is kind of similar to the prices when Newcastle were away at Wigan, and Newcastle got beat 4-0 that day. And some people were saying they were good value to win it, kind of close to 2-1 away from home. Yeah, I couldn't really make a case for either, and I think my sister could price that one up.
Everton are unbeaten in 8. They've had a really strong end to the season under David Moyes, like they always do.
Yeah.
Newcastle don't draw many. No draws in 10 for them. So it's either win or lose, as we've seen in recent weeks with them, i.e. go and lose at Wigan, but then go and win at Chelsea.
Yeah, they're a bit hard to predict.
They're hard to predict.
All right. Should be a fun weekend at the top of the table. We'll look at the bottom of the table and cover off the rest of the football action this weekend and some F1 when we get back. Welcome back. This is the Punter, and we're talking football. We've done the top of the table, and we're going to look at the relegation battle now. We showed the odds to be relegated. We've also already talked about QPR's chances at Man City. But the Stoke-Bolton game is interesting from a betting point of view. Quite an unusual game in that Bolton have to win and Stoke don't really have to do anything if they don't want to. What does that mean from a betting point of view, Neil?
Well, normally it means there's a massive overreaction and everyone wants to be on the team that has to win. Irrespective of the stuff they've done earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And you normally end up getting a really good price about a team that's just way better.
So you expect Stoke to be a good price. So let's just check it out. Stoke are actually 7-5.
Yeah, I was totally shocked.
So what were you expecting?
Well, I kind of thought that they'd go and do something stupid like making Bolton favourite for this game. I thought they might be as short as 11 or 8. As it happens, you can have 2-1 Bolton. I know you can't if you bet with Blue Square or Sporting Bet, but if you
can find 2-1.
If you shop around the village, you can find a bit of 2-1. I thought that looked a good price. It may look a very big price if we start watching the game and realise that Stoke really just don't care.
I think this game's incredibly hard to call because both teams are so out of form. Bolton 1 win in 7 and Stoke 1 win in 10.
But I think you can put a line through that stuff, Dan, because I really do, because you know, how many times have Stoke been to the last game of the season in a meaningless match in those, you know, when you say, actually that's the other way around, sorry, how many times have Bolton been in a must-win situation against a, you know, when we're saying, when we're looking at stats that have happened over the last 10 weeks, this is an unusual situation that definitely hasn't cropped up, you know, at all.
I think it's been must-win though for the last couple of weeks for Bolton. I do. I think their game against Swansea the other week, which they drew, was must win. I think their game against Sunderland, which they drew the other week, was must win.
I definitely agree they've been in trouble since Christmas, and every day that they've woken up to play a game since Christmas, they've needed to win it. But they really need to win this one. There's no other chances.
I don't think they'd be thinking, oh, we've still got one more chance. I think they would have been putting as much effort into those previous matches.
I guess it depends on your view of Stoke.
I'll tell you what, there was another thing that's quite interesting, which kind of goes against Bolton, which is that a lot of people said to me, when Muamba comes back and he's in the stand, kind of like, hi guys, I'm just sitting here watching, no problem. They're going to play so much better, and it's not going to be taken into account of by the market, and it's an outside factor that's going to give the whole feel-good thing. Didn't really happen. Who was it they played? Was it Spurs? They played terrible.
They were slaughtered,
they were awful.
Okay.
Well, the draw against West Brom last week, they were 2-0 up and completely bottled it and drew 2-2. It was, and there you go. There's an example. West Brom playing quite freely, nothing really to play for, come and get 2 goals in the last 15 minutes against a Bolton team playing for their status in the Premier League, completely froze. That's why I say you take the form into these games at the end of the season, and generally whoever's got the better form.
We'll just cover off the scope of the problem for Bolton. They're 2 points behind. They have a worse goal difference than QPR, as you can see, and their fate is not really in their hands, but they know they have to win to have any chance of getting out of it.
I think Bolton's chance was last week, like I say, they were 2-0 up against West Brom with 15 minutes to go.
It's just the QPR Man City match is so fascinating because you never, when you have a title decider that also affects the relegation picture, it's a lot of fun. Okay, we must move on. Lots of other football to get through because the promotion picture from all of the divisions is clarifying. The playoffs have been in full effect. And we've got the playoff to get promotion to the Premier League sorted out. It's going to be Blackpool against West Ham. And let's check out the odds of that one, just to give you a little taster. Obviously, the game is not quite yet, but West Ham odds on. Now, when we were talking last time we talked about this, Neil, you thought that West Ham were too short.
Yeah, I have to say, I'll come clean. Last time I was on the show, I said West Ham are a great layer, about 11.08 in the four-man thing. Cardiff were rubbish, though, weren't they? They really didn't. I mean, I don't necessarily think West Ham should shorten right up because they were impressive against Cardiff, because Cardiff were terrible. I thought Blackpool were pretty good. I like Blackpool. I will probably be quite interested in being with Blackpool in the match. I don't think I'll be necessarily backing them to go through. I think I'd rather lay West Ham in the 90 minutes because I think these games, they're always super tight, and a draw is a big factor. And I think I'd be with Blackpool in the draw.
Yeah, I think there's a psychological advantage for West Ham in this one. They went to Blackpool and won 4-1 there near the end of the season with 9 men. They had their goalkeeper sent off, and they went and won their 4-1. Now,
that's pretty impressive.
Blackpool were impressive against Birmingham, I must say, away from home. They went 2-0 up, got back to 2-2. They could have, they could have frozen then, but they didn't. They held on for the last 20 minutes or so and showed a different side to a Blackpool team that we saw last season that couldn't defend. They defended well in that period under pressure. I think that 6-5 for them to win promotion, taking into account extra time penalties, all that sort of thing, that's a good price.
And I'd love to see Holloway back in the Premier. That's
everybody would, I think. Everybody would. And Big Sam as well. He's a lovely fella. Let's have a look at the odds to be promoted to the Championship. Shall we? 4 teams in the mix, and you'll notice both this and the odds to be promoted to Division 1, very kind of open. Sheffield United are your favourites, but you can throw a blanket over the 4 of them.
Yeah, I thought Sheffield United a bit skinny there, really. I mean, just looked a bit short to me. I thought it was wide open.
They were shoo-in 3 weeks ago to win automatic promotion. Drew with Stevenage actually a couple of weeks ago, who they play in the playoffs. They were 2-0 down and drew 2-2. Though that was their big chance. That's when they let Sheffield Wednesday in, their local rivals. I think that they should be laid at all costs, Sheffield United, in this. I think they had their chance and they know it as well. Huddersfield are my tip for promotion from League One. They've got Simon Grayson in charge, a manager who knows how to do it, and Jordan Rhodes, a player who scored nearly 40 goals this season. So for me, I think the winner comes out of the MK Dons Huddersfield tie, and I think it will be Huddersfield.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
All right, good stuff. Clarity, my word. Let's have a look at the odds to be promoted to Division 1, and this is even more open, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah, we've got 9-4 about Southend, and what's that, 1.5 separating all 4 clubs. So pick your poison, really.
Yeah, I don't know. Cheltenham's about horse racing for me. I haven't. It's not a league I've followed at all. Flash is 5. Occasionally, I might have a laugh when he's gone for somebody that's 8,000 miles away from Torquay to win away.
In general, you're going to find any kind of value.
I'm sure you are.
Kind of thing, yeah.
I would say as a general thing, because I think we'd like to do this on the Punter, is to give people a bit of knowledge. You know, when the bookmakers are pricing up games in these divisions, often they're pricing on the basis of 1-2x, who's got this team score this percentage of goals at home, this team score this percentage away, this team win this percentage of home games, this team win this percentage of away games. If you've got extra local knowledge, like you happen to be a Crewe Alexander season ticket holder, and you know that this fella took a bit of a knock and it didn't get picked up in the papers or whatever, this is where you can have a little bit of an edge.
Professional bettors have an edge, isn't it?
Basically,
they actually have contacts at clubs.
Absolutely, yeah.
Crewe are 16 games unbeaten going into this. They've gone on a great run since around about Christmas to get into the playoffs. Now they play Southend, who just missed out on automatic promotion on the last day of the season, but not in similar circumstances to Sheffield United. Southend had gone on a really good run. Southend take on Crewe and Cheltenham face Torquay. I think the winner for promotion comes from the Crewe Southend games. Both teams are in form, and that's where I would be anyway with League Two.
Good local knowledge. Let's change gears, shall we? Because we're talking F1.
You really did that.
Can't teach it.
Very good.
The Spanish Grand Prix happens this weekend, and as if you watched the Punter last night, I was saying, usually, historically, betting on F1 hasn't been that exciting. This year, it's been incredibly exciting. 4 different winners to the 4 races, and I'm not sure we're 100% clear on which car is best or what the outcome's going to be of the season. Spanish Grand Prix. We were talking to our expert last night, and there's not a lot of overtaking, so the grid position is going to be pretty important here, isn't it, Dan? Yeah,
Sebastian Vettel won in Catalonia last year and won the last Grand Prix, and it appears that they've certainly sorted his car out, not necessarily the Red Bull as a team, because Mark Webber's still struggling at the moment. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button have been in pretty good form throughout the season, and the McLaren car certainly seems the strongest, and that pairing seems the strongest as well.
Well, let's look at the odds to qualify for the Grand Prix. Vettel is, well, actually, a little bit of dispute over who's favourite, Vettel or Hamilton.
I think the Racing Post tipped up Hamilton, didn't they, in the first practice, but I don't know.
For pole as opposed to winning.
Yeah, to win the first practice, it was actually specifically, but. Yeah, I was kind of looking and thinking, I think I'm with you. I like to be on the leader, so to win the race. So I don't have any great views on the qualifying, but I think if I fancied someone to win the qualifying right now, I'd probably be looking to back them each way in the race.
Okay, well, let's look at the race then and see how those odds are reflected. And Vettel is your favourite. Looks like, well, these are just basically the standard odds that there don't seem to be huge. There don't seem to be huge differences for the Spanish Grand Prix, particularly here.
Kimi Raikkonen has twice before won the Spanish Grand Prix. Obviously, he's been out for I don't know how many years now, 3-4 years, and then he came back this year. So I wouldn't necessarily say that to take that and put it all your money on it, but he obviously does know the track pretty well. Lewis Hamilton, 3 third places this year. Pit stop problems last time, him and Jenson Button. If they can sort them out, McLaren, I think the winner, with a little bit more value, comes from either Hamilton or Button.
Okay.
I thought, what I like in Grand Prix, as in so many things, is betting each way.
Yeah.
And I see Ladbrokes are a quarter first 3, which is a little bit of value, I think. Most of the other bookmakers are a 5th first 3. I know you're betting odds on for the place part, but you can have 3-1 Vettel. You can have 3-1 Hamilton, and I think you can have. Actually, I think it's only 4. It is 4-1 Button. I think generally. If you bet Button each way, it seems hard for him to be off the podium. And if you have £100 each way, you get your 200 back if he comes second or third, and you got a shot at him winning.
Yeah. You can also
personally
have
think
£2
those 3.
Way, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah, you can.
I think those 3 are a fair way clear. It feels to me from reading up on it and that kind of thing.
That's an interesting angle on it. Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship, and as I said, different winners of the first races, but predictable names at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Vettel now 15-8 because he's won a race. We were saying 3-1 would look big about him a couple of races ago if he banked a couple of wins.
Yes, but it just appears like just in the recent weeks, Red Bull have sorted themselves out. They looked a shadow of themselves over the past 2 or 3 seasons.
Well, they've probably drunk some of their product
in the opening races of the season. But they certainly seem to have sorted themselves out now. But I can't look any further than the McLarens this season.
Well, this brings us on very quickly to my bet of the century. It's not my bet of the century. I just think it's a good bet, which is the Constructors' Championship. And I was just a little bit surprised that McLaren are 11-8 on, which to me seems very generous, Neil. I feel like, a month from now, that's going to look incredibly generous.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because these, people are talking about the season being really wide open because there's been 4 different winners.
Yeah. And of course, not at all.
Well, this is it, because looking at the constructors, it clearly isn't. There's 2 teams that are totally dominant. But the other thing is that, first of all, these are totally different. We're coming into the European stretch now, where we get similar conditions each week. The other races were big heavy rain in one of them, and very early season form when the cars are not necessarily performing. I think now it's going to settle down, and like you say, in a couple of weeks we might start to see the real thing unravelling. I think if you can get a good handle on it now, it's like watching a 400-metre race and you just start to realise
the stacker's unwinding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Great stuff. Enjoy the Grand Prix if you're watching and betting on it. It's a great thing to bet on right now. Lots more to come after the break. We'll get some naps for the weekend from our 2 experts. And, of course, we're going to cover Britain's Got Talent. Well, why wouldn't we? I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to the Punter, picking our way through the weekend sport for you and finding you the value. Now, we are going to cross the pond for a little bit of NBA. Can you see these? Tiny little bags, all down to the NBA playoffs, which if you're not interested in, and the NHL playoffs as well. But the basketball's fantastic, in my opinion. A golden age for the NBA and a great thing to bet on. And I have someone with me who does that quite a lot. Neil, how have the playoffs been treating you?
Did you see these?
Yeah.
Tiny little tears, Nick Blair. Tiny little tears.
Not so good.
Not so good. No, actually, I haven't had too many bets yet. It's all got a bit boring, hasn't it? So, it's pretty much gone to form so far.
Except for the Lakers, who are in trouble.
Oh, yeah, okay, that was a fair call.
Although that almost is to form, because they're not great.
The thing we were talking about last time we spoke about this, well, first of all, congratulations so far.
Yeah,
I think you can take plaudits early. It might not work out.
Well, let's look at the odds, because the thing you're referring to is that I've backed San Antonio. Because I thought,
don't go on about it.
Because we're just going to look at what their price is now.
Yeah, you did very well. You bet them at 5 to 1,
yeah.
Which I thought was pretty reasonable.
Well, given the fascinating thing is, all they've done is beaten the 8 seed that they were absolutely supposed to do, and suddenly they're
well. The other thing that we were just saying off air a second ago is that the Miami Heat, who we pretty much didn't say much good about. I like the Miami Heat. It's not like they're a terrible team. I just thought they were a bad price at 2 to 1. They didn't seem to represent much value. They beat the Chicago Bulls in a series where the Chicago fella got injured. And they were expected to win that.
Well, they didn't beat Chicago Bulls.
Chicago
went out.
Chicago went out in a series where
Miami won the game
injured.
they were supposed to.
Miami won a game that they were supposed to, and they suddenly went to 6 to 5. They were 7 to 1 on to win that series. They went from 2 to 1 to 6 to 5. I don't think that much really changed for them to shorten up.
So when things happen like that, it's just people overreacting. The general punting money just overreacting to what's happened.
I tell you what, I quite like Twitter for this kind of thing. The feeling coming from my Twitter timeline from the people that follow basketball was we should be against Miami. And then suddenly they won that series, and the feeling is they're invincible.
Right.
And that feeling is normally borne out by the way the betting market reacts, because it's public money that makes the betting market react. We had that conversation here last time where I said that in the NBA season generally, the money is split 70% public, 30% betting syndicates.
Yes.
And during the playoffs, it flips completely the other way. And now we're talking about public money, and public money is going to be on public teams, the ones that get shown on TV the most during the season. The Man Uniteds of the league, the popular teams. So Miami are very much that.
So one thing I was going to look at, exactly on that point is, which I haven't looked at yet, but the Pacers to take a couple of games off Miami.
I think I would love to be involved in that. Yeah,
because
the
the Pacers are the absolute antithesis of a public team.
Course.
They're never shown. No one could even name their starting squad.
No, you're absolutely right.
And yet they're a strong team, probably the second best team in the East.
Yeah, no, I certainly couldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, okay. And then just finally on this, you bet totals mainly, is that right?
Actually, I've switched. I tend to, the totals early in the season I used to bet a lot. So the total points in each game, they have a number, 185.5, it's 10 to 11 over, 10 to 11 under. Yeah, I have a look at those. There's a few things I do that I'm not going to tell you.
No, that's fair. You've got to make a living. You've got to have something
to eat.
If you do want to bet on the NBA, you might be slightly late, but find ways to oppose the Lakers would be my advice. You talk about the ultimate reputation and public.
One quick thing on the NBA. I quite like the Philadelphia 76ers.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're going to win it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
you'd like them to potentially get past Boston.
Yeah, they're a team that I think I might be on them in one or two of the games.
Okay. That's an interesting tip. That means he will be on them to vulgar excess amounts. Now, we've saved the best till last. The big event of the weekend that you're all on the edge of your seats for is Britain's Got Talent final, Saturday night. If you do find yourself trapped watching this, the way to get through it, this is always due to a partner. That's why you'll end up in this situation, is to have a wager. Because you can bet on Britain's Got Talent. We love a reality TV bet, don't we, James? It's fun.
Generally, I've been...
Have you been burned, Dan? Have you got the scars?
No, I must admit, no. When I first started doing this, it was something that I just wanted to stay as far away from as possible.
Yeah.
Mixture of not really being interested in it and a mixture of just thinking the thought of betting on it just doesn't really make sense.
Okay.
But you're
right. You may be on the wrong show.
You make it such a good point in the fact you can make it so much more interesting.
This is the whole point of betting.
By having a bet on it.
It makes the mundane incredibly exciting. And you can do it here. Let's check out the odds for the Britain's Got Talent final. And it's led by YouTube sensations, the Portly opera singers, Charlotte and Jonathan, who are slight odds on. Ashley and Pudsey. Pudsey is a dog, it says here. And apparently that's an act for 2012.
Isn't he a bear?
No, it's a dog. It's a dog in this.
No, it's an actual dog. He's also a bear.
Oh, okay. Fine. He used to be a bear. He's had the op.
Yeah.
I think.
Imagine that.
We look at all the acts that are remaining. What's there? 10 there. The majority of them are singers.
Yeah.
And every single winner of Britain's Got Talent, I think, has been some sort of singer.
I said last year it was the acrobats, wasn't it? The gymnasts,
it was
performing gymnasts.
I've looked through.
Exactly.
I've looked through the trends. There's been almost no synchronised swimming winners so far.
When Susan Boyle didn't win, it was a dance group. Can't remember their name now, but they surprised everyone. Diversity, and won.
Terrific.
And won.
Yeah.
And I think something similar could happen here. Charlotte and Jonathan, big favourites at the moment, but I think Ashley and Pudsey, the pawsome duo.
What do they do?
Just some dancing. The girl
Neil,
gets
I'm
not
going to lie to you.
Basically,
a woman. This is absolutely true. A woman walks around the stage, and the dog follows her. Wow. And sometimes the dog goes in between her legs.
Britain really has got talent,
hasn't it? It's 2012.
Anyway, at those prices, I think that Ashley and Pudsey.
I saw the. To be honest, I saw the Welsh Opera people. Only Boys Allowed. That was a touching story. I hope they win it. I might have to.
20 to 1.
20 to 1. I
can tell everybody out there that the Bet Butler, our very own Bet Butler, has tipped up Ashley and Pudsey. He's with you, Dan. He thinks that they're locked in to win this.
I would also just make a quick mention that a friend of mine's sister is part of Aquabatic, so
vested interest.
Hats off to them.
Do they actually wear hats?
Molly Rainford, an 11-year-old girl, got a great voice, great one for the future, possibly, and maybe as an outsider. I don't know if they're going to do an each-way betting to finish in the top 3 in this, possibly.
Some people
maybe
will probably,
at 40 to 1. I think that she'd be a good bet. She's definitely going to get the cuteness.
Maybe next season.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Have a bet. Enjoy it. I thoroughly recommend it. Now, last thing, we're just going to cover off. We like a managerial vacancy, and the sports press has been dominated by this story over the last week, which is the Di Matteo at Chelsea story. And I've got a reasonably strong opinion on this, but I can't really find a way to back it. Let's just check out the odds for the next manager at Chelsea. Roberto Di Matteo is now 2 to 1 on.
Now, last time we spoke about this, didn't we say that he has to win the Champions League for him to be the manager?
Yes.
And given that they're about 15 to 8 to win that, how could you back him at even money?
Right.
And I said to you, and I think it was Nigel Seeley, if they win the cup final, does that, surely that's the other thing that could happen. He could be runner-up in the Champions League and win the cup final, and that might be enough. And you both said no. But he's shortened up to 1 to 2. So surely that must be a terrible price.
On the strength of winning the cup final. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is a terrible price. But
Jose Mourinho, of course, Real Madrid losing in the semi-finals. He has won the league, though, this season. I think he'll want to stay there to win the Champions League there. Laurent Blanc was the interesting one. He's managing France over the Euros, but that's when his contract finishes. I think for an outside bet, 14 to 1.
Interesting.
But it's got to be Di Matteo. Even if they lose the Champions League finals, I think it's got to be him.
But although we're being told, I mean, how good people's sources are on this, given that Abramovich is so, private and basically does what he wants. But we're being told, presumably it's been leaked, that that's not the case. That if he doesn't win the final, then he is. Well,
if I was Di Matteo, then I'd be thinking, I don't need you because I'm going to get a big job through what I've done at Chelsea this season. I'll go elsewhere. I don't want to work for an absolute maniac.
He's
a maniac. But then, who among us wouldn't be with 10 million in the bank?
I think Abramovich should just do it himself.
Well, I mean, that's what's happening anyway.
He should be. I'll back him at 25.
Give John Terry some money to do some more shouting. I must get some tips from you for the weekend. Obviously, you've been giving us tips throughout. But if you had like maybe one or two bets for this weekend, what do you like now?
Well, I do like those each way terms with Ladbrokes on the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And they are 3 to 1 Wealthall on the thing there. We said that it was 11 to 4 best price.
Can get 3 to 1.
Ladbrokes are 3 to 1, and it's a quarter first 3. And, maybe it is going to be boring the same as last season. Now we're back in Europe and he's just going to win every week.
Yeah.
I'll take him. I mean, we're
trying to get ahead of that curve a little bit.
We're going to lose, we have £100 each way. We lose £25 if he comes second and third. And we get the lot if he wins it.
Yeah. And Dan?
A couple of football ones for me. I think that Everton are pretty well priced at around about, I think it was about 5 to 4 to beat Newcastle at home. And also Bolton, as Neil was saying, normally the teams who need the points more are normally odds on, but at 2 to 1 or so, I think that's
I'm going to be involved in that as well. I think that would be my other one.
Fantastic
stuff. I'm allowed 2.
I'm all over all of them. Good stuff as ever. Thanks so much for Dan Freeman and Neil Channing for their expert advice. Hope you enjoyed it. Lots of luck this weekend, whatever you're betting on. Enjoy the football, win, lose or draw, and we'll see you soon for more The Punter.
Stay ahead of the game with Sports Tonight Live. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search for Sports Tonight Live on Facebook and like our fan page. Follow Sports Tonight TV on Twitter and tweet us your thoughts and opinions. Sports Tonight Live, it's the platform for the fans.